Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at a mid-length surfboard from Torq called the Chopper. Spent a lot of time on it, so I'm excited to share with you my thoughts on this board. First, starting off, let's just start about construction. Torq has three types of construction. They have the TET, which is their basic epoxy construction, very durable, heavy, but holds up well, great for beginners. And then they have the TEC, which is a little bit more of a performance epoxy construction, lightweight. Great performing board as well. Those are the white boards that you'll see. And then this is their ACT construction, which essentially is epoxy, but with a bamboo deck, and then also has a carbon strip that runs top and bottom. The bamboo deck really adds kind of that extra layer, so when you are riding in some choppier conditions, it's going to handle that a little bit better than just the straight epoxy constructions. So something to note on this board, still really lightweight. Durability is awesome on these ACT constructions. Okay, so let's get into this chopper. So this is a mid-length, like I said. This is the smallest size. It comes in three sizes: 6'10", 7'2", and 7'6". Liters range from about 42 to about 52 liters. So they're not over volumed for sure. I feel like the volume is really appropriate in comparison to other boards out there that you can get, like a JS Big Baron or a Channel Islands Mid, very comparable dimensions to those. As far as the shape, as you can see, it has relatively a full nose. I would say it's still a little bit pulled in. I wouldn't give it like a mini Mal, like a really big nose. So it definitely has some pull-in nose to it. And then the tail, as you can see, very much your traditional pin tail. Very much a standard, I feel like, in mid-lengths today, and so I think they kind of went with that theme that you're seeing. You get a lot of maneuverability in a pintail, and you don't need that extra volume like you do in a gravel shortboard. So pull the tail in, allow you to be maneuverable off the tail. Rocker in this board is interesting. I actually laid this board out on a flat surface and compared it to my JS Big Baron, which is a very popular mid-length as well. And I really wanted to see what it was as far as the rocker goes. And as you can see, tail rocker was somewhat similar, a little bit more rocker, but the nose had actually quite a bit more rocker than the Big Baron. And I think that goes with the way it paddled. It probably didn't quite have as much of advantage paddling because of that extra rocker. However, when you're taking those late drops onto a wave, I felt like it really did help having that little bit of extra rocker in the nose. So that was kind of interesting. As far as the concaves go, pretty standard as far as your single, very light single concave up front. And then it kind of goes to a double in the back, and then it kind of goes to that kind of that tipping point right at the very end. So that's just going to give you that maneuverability that you're looking for in this longer board as well. But nothing too crazy, I would say, with the concaves. Very traditional. And then as far as the rails go, I feel like they went with just kind of more of a fuller rail instead of a really pinched rail or a, I don't know, hipster style rail where they really can pull it in and they can do some really cool shaping on that board. I feel like with that full rail, it's going to give you that side to side stability, and it's going to make this board easier than something that has more pinched rail. However, with that fuller rail, it is a little bit harder to kind of bury that rail down. If you're a heavier rider, that's going to be easier. Me at just under 150 pounds at 40 some liters, great for catching waves, but definitely hard to really bury that rail in because it's such a full rail, if that kind of makes sense. Another feature I really wanted to touch on was the fins. Now this is kind of why I wanted this board, and I was talking to our sales rep from Torq, and I was like, I want a mid-length that I can run as a twin fin, which is always my go-to, but I'm also very curious about single fins. I have only single fin on long boards, 9-foot boards, but I've never done a single fin on like a mid-length, and I know there are some boards that do that. So he's like, let's get you the chopper and ride it, and then you can see what you think as a twin fin and a single fin. So twin fin only if you choose to, and then you got a single fin box. Not a lot of adjustability in the single fin box. I ran it forward most of the time when I did run it as a single fin. And then I ran a 7-inch Futures fin, fiberglass fin, very standard, high quality fin. And then for my twin fins, I ran a Timmy Patterson upright, very much of an MR style fin. And I got to ride it both ways. I did not try this board as a single with two side bites or side fins. I feel like if you were going to take this in some really good size waves, maybe 4 plus, 5 foot plus, that would probably be the ultimate fin option, is to run that single with the side bites. But I didn't run in that. A lot of this footage you're going to see in this, it's in Florida, and it was throughout the whole summer I've had this board, and just coming into the fall. And most of the days I surf this is anywhere between, you know, knee high to maybe some head high waves, but a lot of closeout, beach breaks. Comparing the two fins, right? Two fin options right now. What I noticed with the single fin is that the board projects really well down the line, carries speed nicely, and it does offer some maneuverability if you step back on the tail. And I really had to kind of shuffle my feet back, and then I could really maneuver this board pretty easily, like almost pivot off of that single fin in the back. So those are kind of things I noticed with the single fin. Comparing it to the twin fin, I felt like there was just maybe a touch more drag, but I feel like the way it turned was obviously something I'm more comfortable with as a twin fin rider. But the interesting part I found is that, you know, people in mid lengths, they talk about riding them like a snowboard, where you can like you can be like centered on the board and not necessarily ride it like a short board. And when I'm riding in this position, now this is just something I felt, maybe other people have felt this or could disagree with me, but this is what I felt on this board. When I was riding this board, centered on the board as a twin fin, I feel like I could really maneuver this board pretty well down the line without getting too radical with any maneuvers. And I felt like with a single fin, I really struggled with that. I felt like as a single fin, it felt just kind of like a longboard. It just kind of wanted to cruise, little high line, low, you know, not high performance riding at all, but really fast. But it just didn't turn as maneuverable as I thought as the twin fin. So that was just something to note. So take that for what you want, but did really like both. I definitely, if I was taking this board and going somewhere, I would bring a single fin for maybe really, really small days and I just want to go straight and fast, and then twin fin if I want to be a little bit more maneuverable and stay centered on the board. As far as an overall surfboard, what were my impressions? If you're on a long board and you're stepping down into a mid-length, I feel like this could totally work if you're on the smaller side, because it is relatively narrow for a mid-length. There are some wider ones and definitely ones that have more volume. I feel like there's actually a lot of performance in this mid-length. So if you were stepping down from a longboard and you were that beginner to intermediate, maybe be on the smaller side. If you're that 200-pound person, you know, there's probably some mid-lengths like, you know, the Big Boy 23 and some other boards that you can get that just have a bit more volume to them. But apart from that, I feel like this is a great performance mid-length for those people if that's what they're looking for. And then for people that obviously already know what they want, they're on shorter boards and they want to get a mid-length for those days just to change it up, and they want to catch a ton of waves but still be able to maneuver it, I feel like this is a great option for them. Paddling, I felt like it was really good. I definitely, like I said earlier, noticed a little bit of more flip in the nose, so it may not paddle as well as like a plank that's super flat, but that's okay. I'm willing to accept that, knowing that I can take waves a little bit later. I'm really stoked on the Act construction. I've had a few Torq boards, first time having Act, and I gotta say I'm really impressed with it. I feel like it is really durable. I had to do a repair on it because it was a Bellingham surfboard, so it had a kind of the repair job wasn't great, so I did a proper professional repair on the tail of this board, really dug into it, just take a look at it, and the construction looks really good, and easy to repair. 42 liters, less than 150 pounds. I can actually sink this board under a wave, and I was blown away by that. I did not think I could get this board under a wave, and which is really helpful when you're going out and you got a bigger set coming through. I like knowing that I can actually sink the nose of that board to get under it and not get kicked up by the wave. So no problem duck diving this board as well. So why would you choose, say, a Torq Chopper Act over, say, an epoxy board from, say, Channel Islands or Lost? You know, what are you getting with this board? And I know, you know, this was not shaped by, you know, a very sought after shaper. It was a design that they've put together, they've had in their lineup, it's kind of tried, tested, and proven. So I feel like for a price point, it's going to be less than those boards, and you're still getting a really good high quality board. It may just not have that shaper behind it who shaped a really good board. Now, granted, some of those boards can surf really well, but I feel like I spent the whole summer on this board, lots of surfs in it, and I can tell you it feels really good under my foot. Now, I'm more of a, I would say just a solid intermediate surfer, definitely not above that. So someone who's obviously at a higher level, this video may not have no interest in them because they know exactly what they want, what volume they have, what shape, and everything, you know, the concaves, everything they have, fin design, or fin layup, whatever. But for someone who's kind of that beginner to intermediate and they're trying to decide, knowing that, you know, this could be their board for a while until they move on to another board, this is really good because it's just a little bit more budget friendly, because you're still trying to navigate what your future, what your like end goal board is going to be like what are you striving towards. So it's kind of a stepping stone maybe, and then just kind of like sizing down, or you've been on a shorter board and you've kind of struggled for a while and you want to get a little bit bigger of a board but still maintain maneuverability, something like this chopper is going to be great for you guys. As far as just the fun factors, I feel like this is just a really fun board to have. I feel like it's just really diverse. You can do a lot with it, and it's just in that sweet size. I like that 610 because I feel like it's just a little bit of a bigger short board, and it's not a mid-length longboard. So it kind of has this kind of cool range that you can kind of do some different things with, which is kind of fun. One last thing I want to say is that a lot of companies are coming out with alternative epoxy boards that say they ride like a PU. I haven't tried all of them. I've tried a few of them, but I would say that if you're going out and you plan on taking this board and it's, you know, windy, there's a lot of chop in the water, maybe really strong offshore, I still am going to say go PU. I really feel like nothing still beats a PU surfboard for those type of days. But if you're looking for a board that can handle some chop, but you want the epoxy because you know it's lighter, strong, it's light, it's strong, and it's going to last a really, really long time, then Act is a great way to go. But I just don't feel like, I don't want you to think that this is like a total PU replacement. It's not by any standards. So overall, super rad board, really psyched on it, and really cool. Torq's doing a great job. So if you have any questions on this board, or you have surfed it and you want to let us know what you think, please leave them in the comments down below. We'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this. But yeah, overall, super psyched on this board. Really cool, mid-length, very, very unique, and just a ton of fun. So anyways, thanks again, guys, for watching. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week on the next video. Later.